Hello. I'm actually not going to be talking too much about Letby. I'm going to be talking about the British Museum. But it's the same sort of problem that cropped up in both. Of course, you can't even put the theft of some artifacts from a museum into the same category as this. But it's the same modus operandi. I shall explain. There is some doubt about the evidence used to convict Letby. That doesn't mean she isn't guilty. The plumber in the case said that there was probably a lot of bacteria circulating just over those beds because there were pipes going over in the ceiling. That's the point. And not enough concentration was put on that. She could still have been guilty. In fact, I think the weight of evidence probably confirms that. But we'll never really know because she was left in place for, well, years, because the administrators didn't want to rock the boat. The administrators have really high-paid jobs, and it's their job to make sure everything runs smoothly. But what happens when you get somebody in that sort of a job is not that they make sure that everything runs smoothly, it's that they make sure that everything looks like it's running smoothly. And as long as it is, they hang on to their jobs. As long as it appears that way, they hang on to their job. And this article here, Sir Robert Francis, this is not just about Lucy Letby. The NHS system doesn't value safety. Again, it's the NHS system. This is something else I got quite annoyed about when I saw all the headlines that said, NHS ignored the warnings. No. It wasn't the NHS, it was the administrators. The NHS as a body didn't. The NHS as a body is a very well-meaning, good organisation. The trouble is it's set up in such a way that various people have their little empires and they wish to hang on to them because they're very well-paid empires. The Patients Association president fears patients are being put at risk by bad management. And he was in charge of another situation, and I suppose they would have said lessons were learnt. NHS came out of his epic 5-year inquiry into high numbers of deaths in elderly patients at Stafford Hospital, enshrined a duty of candour in the NHS. Did they learn from it? Obviously not. Because, you see, it's not the NHS that's learning. It's the various little, or not learning rather, it's the various little empires within the NHS, and they all come up independently. Now, what happened here? The British Museum had a series of thefts. This guy here, Itai Gradel, he sent evidence to the museum in February 2021 that some items were being stolen from the storage facilities. These were not items that were on show. These were items that were being used by researchers. And he's on eBay. He's looking for these things. He has an interest in them. And he comes across somebody who says his father owned a junk shop in York between the wars, and he's selling off all the stuff, or his grandfather. And this person, and there was a copy of some sort of, I don't remember exactly now, was an Assyrian or Egyptian artifact, which was supposed to be a copy, and he bought it for something like £40. And when he got it, he realised it was at least 3,000 years old, and it was perfectly genuine. And he started keeping an eye on this person. Finally, he warned the British Museum about it, the higher ups, and he was treated like the village idiot. And it's exactly the same mechanism as the mechanism that killed all those babies in the Countess of Chester Hospital. Because you see, if Letby was guilty, then if they'd have immediately moved her, that would have stopped the deaths. And if she wasn't guilty, if it was the plumbing system, then that would have carried on, and they would have had to examine further why this was happening in that part of the hospital. And here we have people who are too busy having their fancy dinners and fundraising events and talking to ministers about culture and all the rest of it to take any notice of this guy who was causing a bit of a problem by rocking the boat and making it look like they weren't up to their well-paid jobs. Well, finally, one of them had to decide that he was not up to the job. And who's resigned here? Hartwig Fischer announced that he was quitting his role as director after 7 years because the museum did not respond as comprehensively as it should have done when presented with a dossier of evidence in 2021. We have a problem here of committees, of bureaucracies. We have a problem here of how would you describe it? Ass covering, I suppose. And it turns out that it says here, scholars said his departure had become inevitable following a week of disclosures by the Telegraph. You know, the Telegraph is coming up with some really serious journalism. Seems to be the only paper that did. What about the Guardian and all its cultural ideas? No, it's the Telegraph. Anyway, George Osborne promised to fix what's gone wrong. It'll never be fixed. It'll never be fixed as long as we have these bureaucratic systems, which obviously echo each other. The NHS bureaucratic system, the library, the museum bureaucratic system. It's actually, it's a series of Milgram experiments writ large. I suppose you know about Milgram, the professor, who had these experiments in which he got people who were apparent authorities to order other people to do things which they would never normally do in ordinary life. But because they saw these people as authorities, they just got on with the job as ordered. And in both of these situations, we have Milgram in full flood here. And Milgram did these experiments, when was it? The 70s, the 80s? And we still haven't learnt. Well, I think it's about time we did. All right, I'm Graniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter and Gab, where I let you know when I've uploaded a new video. All the links are in the description, including links to donation sites. All donations very gratefully received, but one of the best ways you can help my channel is by clicking the like button, by subscribing, and by clicking the notification bell. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.